What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards, and this week I'm going to try something a little bit different. So, a while back I picked up Forbidden Lands. It's been a couple years, actually, and I couldn't find the group to play it, but finally decided I was going to solo it because it really has a lot of great solo tools in the base game. With the help of a simple oracle, you could easily use the base game as a solo game. But then, Book of Beasts I found out about was going to be on the way, so I decided that I would wait until the official Free League solo rules were out to give it a try. And I ended up putting Forbidden Lands back on my shelf not to be played until I was able to have this book in hand. Now, I do have the PDF, but I just prefer having a physical copy at the table when I'm going to be playing a game. So what I'm going to be doing this week is spending a week in the Ravenlands. Every day of this week, I'm going to film a day in the Ravenlands with some new characters and give you guys an idea of what the solo rules from the Book of Beasts look like, as well as what to expect as a new solo player in the Forbidden Lands. So I'm going to post these all as one large video, but I will break down the sections based upon the day of the week in which they were filmed. So this being Monday, I am going to start off by going through the character creation process with you and then doing a day's worth of events. So without further ado, let's get started. In any game of Forbidden Lands, the first part of the character creation process is going to pick your kin. That is what would be known as race or ancestry in other systems. And I've decided for this first game, I'm going to stick to the basics a little bit, and I'm going to be a human. Specifically, I'm going to be an Alderlander. Now, what the human kin will grant me is the key attribute of empathy, which means that my empathy stat can be a little bit higher than anybody else's. Also, the kin talent of adaptive, and it gives some examples of some suggested names. Now, while these names are all fine and dandy, I'm actually going to use my Stars Without Numbers name generator so that I can come up with a good Sumerian type of name, as I'm going to use Conan as my inspiration for this character. I'm going to roll on the Russian table, the Russian male table to be specific, and I got a 0-1, so it's going to be Alexander, and the surname is going to be 70, which is Romasco. So my character's name is Alexander Romasco. Now, after selecting my kin and my name, I am going to select my profession. By the way, yes, there is no E in Alexander according to the Russian spelling on the Stars Without Number table. So my profession, I'm going to stick with a simple one for right now, and I am going to just do a straight up fighter. Because again, this is going to be a Conan-inspired character. Now, with the class, I will get another key attribute. So now I have key attributes of empathy and strength. And I have skills listed as might, endurance, melee, crafting, and move. This will come into play later. I also need to pick a pride, which they give some suggestions here, and then you can also create your own, but I'm actually going to use one of the suggestions because I think it sounds like my character. You never back down from a fight. Characters can use their pride to add a d12 to their dice pool to nearly ensure a success. However, if they fail after they've used this, they lose that ability altogether. They can use it once per adventure until they fail while using it. Then they have to go on an adventure without one before gaining a new one. I also need to choose a dark secret. Some of the options that they suggest, and of course you can always create your own, you sometimes take to the bottle or to chase away the memories of all those you have killed, secretly enjoy inflicting pain and injury on others, or you were once you killed a Rust Brother and you are now wanted by them. Ooh, I like that one. So I'm going to use a suggested one again. That will create some opportunities for conflict, which is always important in a solo adventure. So if I run into any Rust Brothers, if they recognize me, I'm a goner. I think that Alexander is going to be relatively young. I am going to say he is 19, and that will come into play later. My class is also, or profession, is also going to determine my equipment that I start with. So I'm going to get a one-handed weapon of my choice, which I'm going to choose a broadsword because that's a very Conan type weapon. Studded leather armor. And one item of my choice from list of trade goods. Plus, I'm going to get a D6 silver and a resource die of D8 for food and D6 for water. So I need to get a trade good, and I need to roll for my silver. I got 5 silver, which goes down here. And I think I've found my trade good. I am going to take a bear trap because I believe that Alexander thinks of himself as a bit of a survivalist, and I think that he believes that he's going to be out living off of the land. Okay, so I'm going to start his reputation at 0 because I've selected he's going to be young. So with that, that also influences how many attribute points and skill points that I'm going to start with, as well as my starting talents. And this is going to be the first part that is a little bit different than the standard Forbidden Lands setup, in that during character creation process, according to the Book of Beasts solo rules, you're going to start out with 1 extra general talent plus an additional 2 skill points. So I'm young, so I'm going to get 15 attribute points. I would normally get 8 skill points, but I'm going to get 10 because I get 2 extra just for the solo rules. And then I'm going to get an extra general talent, which will give me 2 general talents. And I've taken a minute just to assign my attribute points. Normally you can't have a stat above a 4, an attribute above a 4, unless you have a key attribute in either your kin and or race. So since my fighter profession gives me a key attribute of strength, I can go above 4 in strength, which I'm going to do because I think Alexander is a physical specimen. And likewise, I'm going to give him a 4 agility, which is above average. And then that leaves me with a standard bog 3 in wits and empathy. Now your attributes are going to go into your dice pools with any skills associated with them. Additionally, these are your hit points in Forbidden Lands. Okay, so since I did go with the younger character, I got less skill points, but more so than you would in a standard Forbidden Lands game because the solo rules allow for that. So with my 10 skill points, I could go up to a 3 in any of my class skills, which I have little stars next to, and then I can have 1 in any non-class skill. So I went with a 1 in might, which is being able to perform feats of strength, a 1 in endurance, which is going to be useful anytime that my stamina is going to be tested, a 3 in melee, because I believe that that is perhaps Alexander's claim to fame. A 1 in crafting, because your gear will wear down, and I think that Alexander may have been the son of a craftsman, perhaps a tanner or maybe even a blacksmith. I did a 1 in stealth because occasionally even the mighty Alexander is going to be overmatched. And a 1 in movement because he is going to be an agile bruiser. A 1 in scouting because he is kind of used to being out on his own in the wild. And then a 1 in wit or survival because he does fancy himself as a live off the land kind of a guy. And now on to pick my talents. I'm going to get 2 general talents, my kin talent, and my profession talent. With your profession, you're going to have 3 selections from the standard book. So you can go with a fighter, path of the blade, path of the enemy, or path of the shield. To go along with the concept, I'm going to do path of the blade, which will allow him to ignore armor on a hit by using a single willpower point. Okay, so I have selected my talents. I got an extra one because that is part of the solo rules according to the Book of Beasts. My kin talent is adaptive. I chose Path of the Blade for the fighter talent. I chose Berserker and Sword Fighter for my 2 general talents. Berserker allows me to keep fighting after I am broken in combat, and it does a little bit of extra damage after I do so. And then Sword Fighter gives me a bonus on my hit and parry rolls when using a sword. I do need to start with a homeland, and I am going to choose the village in Z17, which is this little village right here. And I'm going to roll a random name from my Russian names places table from the Stars Without Numbers book, which is going to be 26. And that's going to be Rostov, the village of Rostov. I'm going to write that right here. That is where I am from. I also need to choose some appearance choices here. And going along with my Conan inspiration, he's going to have long dark hair with a smooth face because he's young. He's going to be tall, muscular, fair-skinned, and he's going to wear furs and leather clothing. Very simple. Now at this point, The Book of Beasts does suggest that you create a companion, and so you would have kind of a sidekick. At, at this point with Alexander, I don't want to do that just yet. I think I want to play, and maybe he can meet a companion to add to his group after I've done a little bit of adventuring. So this is going to be how Alexander looks for the start of the adventure, and hopefully he'll live long enough to actually see what he can do. I did decide to make one change. I am actually adding an animal companion for Alexander, mostly because I don't want him to be sleeping with no one keeping watch, and if he has a dog companion, then he'll have someone keeping watch. So I rolled a random name on the Russian female table, and I got a Katerina. Okay, two things before we get started on our grand adventure with Alexander here. Number one, for this game you need 3 separate colors of dice. So for my dice I have white, green, and red. White are going to be my base die, red are going to be my skill dice, and green are going to be my gear dice. This is going to be important later on because as you roll ones, you can damage your base stats and your gear. Second thing, we need to generate a legend. This legend is going to be our purpose for leaving our home. So we're going to say the white die is the tens side, and the green die is the singles. So I got a 64. So my legend is from a time in the age of the blood mist, between 5 and 280 years ago. So this is before the blood mist lifted, when travel was limited and things were very bleak. And let's see, it says 24. There was a treacherous treasure hunter. Which begs the question, how was he hunting treasure during the blood mist when everyone had to be in their homes by daybreak? That's interesting. Who sought a 16, a love. Who sought a love. And traveled to a farm because of a prophecy. Located. Oh, I just need 1 on that one. 6 on the other side of the Forbidden Lands. So perhaps beyond the locked gate in the north. Let's see. In a 45, in some hills. Oh, just need 1. 6 in the north. Oh, it's a D8. Not very many D8s in this game. let's see. Whatever did I do with my D8? There it is. A 1. It is in the north. As the legend goes, it is said that he was possessed. And that at the location there is a suit of armor. So, but also 33 hungry saurians. So it just stops right there. So the legend is, in the age of blood mist, there was a treacherous treasure hunter who sought a love and traveled to a farm. Because of a prophecy on the other side of the Forbidden Lands in some hills in the north, he was possessed, and at the location there is a suit of armor, but also hungry saurians. So in the north, if I were to find the location of this legend, I might have to battle some saurians to find an epic set of armor. Okay, so I've got Alexander placed in Z17, the Rostov village. And the way that this works with the Book of Beasts is you start your day typically by asking the experience questions from the prior day, but since we don't have a prior day just yet, we are going to skip right to the next part. We've already shuffled our deck, so now we are going to roll for some weather. And we're going to roll 3 dice. We will do white, green, red. So white, the wind is a breeze with no effect. Green, clear skies for rainfall, so I get a +1 on my lead the way. And then red, the temperature is hot. Each hiking player must succeed an endurance roll for every quarter of the day to not get thirsty. If you get thirsty, you have to drink water. Okay, so I'm getting a +1 on my lead the way, which I'm going to make a note of. And endurance on hiking. So you get 4 quarters of the day, but you're going to be sleeping one of those, so you really get 3 choices each day that you play. This is our day 1, and we are going to start out on our journey. We're going to, I think we're going to go into these woods here. So we're going to move into the next tile. That is going to be a hiking choice. Since I am solo, I'm also going to be leading the way. Okay, as I lead the way, I'm going to need to make a survival check. My survival skill is 1, which uses a red skill die, and my wits attribute is 3, which uses 3 white attribute dice. So I need to get a 6 on one of these dice. And I actually got 1. So I was successful. So I have no issues with leading the way, and actually I get to roll an extra 1 because there were clear skies. I got a 1, which if I had to re-roll it would be a problem, but since I got a success the first time around, the 1 will not hurt me. So with a successful lead the way, I don't have any problems getting to that next tile. However, when I get there, I do need to draw a card from the Book of Beasts for a potential encounter. Okay, a 7. Random encounter, roll a d66. We're going to do on page 123 of this book. So, 123. And we are in the plains, and we will do white die first. A 15 in the plains is no encounter. So we are going to go ahead and move another square or hex up, because you can move 2 per quarter in open hexes. I'm going to roll another survival check for leading the way, getting my 3 wits dice, actually my 1 extra bonus skill die for the weather. I used an attribute die last time for the bonus die, but it should have been a skill die, and my regular 1 skill die. So I need to get 1 6 on this. And I didn't get any. I got 2 1s, but they're on skill dice, which don't hurt me. I got a 1 in an attribute dice that could hurt me. I'm going to push this roll. So when you push a roll in Forbidden Lands, or any Year Zero engine, it comes with potential consequences. I can re-roll any skill dice or non-1, non-6 attribute or gear dice. So I'm going to re-roll these looking to get a 6. I have to keep this attribute dice as a 1. And I still failed. And I got another 1 on an attribute die, which means I'm going to take 2 points of wits damage, which leaves me only at 1 before I break. So I've marked 2 points there, which means on future wits rolls, until I heal, I'm going to be down 2 dice. Furthermore, I need to roll a mishap. Okay, we're going to do the white die as the first. A 66, that cannot be good. A persistent animal. A squirrel, bird, or other small animal follows you around and doesn't leave you alone. The animal causes trouble, described by the GM. It might make a noise at some inappropriate time. Eat your food or steal something. So I think that what this is a squirrel, and what it's going to do is it's going to drive my dog, Ekaterina, nuts. So she's going to be barking the whole time, which for game purposes means if I get an encounter, I am not going to be able to avoid them seeing me. They're going to see and hear me because my dog's barking. Okay, now I also need to make an endurance check or become thirsty because of the hot weather. So endurance is going to be strength, which luckily I have 5 of those, and 1 red die. And I got a success, so I'm good on the endurance. I'm not thirsty. I also need to draw a card for an encounter because I entered a new hex. So we got a 4. We're going to roll on page 123 again. We'll do white die first. 31. And we are still in the plains. So encounter number 1. Let's see. The birthing manticore. An agonized bellow echoes through the wilderness, bending trees and branches with its sound wave and shaking the very earth beneath your feet. The next bellow almost knocks you to the ground. There is no doubt about it, a large and powerful beast not far from here is in immense pain. Okay, well, I kind of read through what this would be, and then I'm basing my decision on what I think my hero would do, and I think hearing the monstrous roar, he would probably try to run away, even as the dog is barking at the squirrel. However, it's not certain, and if I do take a different course and I go to investigate what this noise is, I could potentially be in some bad trouble. but I'm going to give a chance of it anyways. I think that it is likely that I am not going to go research this. I think I'm going to try to just make my way away from the noise. So I get to draw 2 cards and keep the one that works best for me. Okay. Yeah, so yes, but with some complication, or maybe, but the result is not clear. So, what does that mean? Well, let's go to the theme oracle. Let's draw 2 cards from the theme oracle and see if they make more clear what that complication might be. So I do go away, but 6 of spades, transition, and Jack of spades, impulsiveness. I think in my transition and my impulsiveness to get away, perhaps I get a little bit lost. And maybe I need to roll a random direction that I'm going to wind up in as I get lost. And we'll say that directly ahead of me is 1, and we'll go clockwise from there. So 1, 2, 3. So I wind up actually over here, trying to get away from the noise of the creature. Now that is the first quarter of the day. I am going to now use the second quarter of the first day to attempt to hike again. Actually, you know what? No, I'm not. I'm going to try to make camp. Making camp is a survival roll. And unfortunately, because my wits are shaken from my earlier failure, I'm only going to get 2 dice. That's going to be 1 stat die, attribute die, and 1 skill die. And I need to get a 6 on this. But I got 1. Okay. So I am successful making camp. And because I'm successful making camp, in the second part of the day, I can rest a quarter of the day to get my health back, since I'm not going into a different tile. And then I will rest the last quarter of the day as well. But during that quarter, I'm actually sleeping, so I need to draw a card to see if there's an encounter in the night. But if there is, the dog is on watch duty. A 2 of diamonds. I think that's good for me. It's a 123, which means I roll on that dastardly table again. All right, so the white die goes first, and it is a 66. That's probably not good. Number 35. The ferocious battle. The first thing you notice are the carrion birds greedily circling a place further ahead. There are so many of them that they form a small cloud of black feathers and bad omens. Then you hear it, metal hitting metal, the deep and rhythmic beating of drums, roars of rage and pain. Colorful pennants and fluttering banners of war appear above the treetops. For a moment, they disappear behind a rain of black arrows, followed by thuds. The screams and drums grow louder, as do the resounding, frantic clangs of axes meeting swords and metal shields. Okay, so there is a battle between dwarves and orcs that is working its way towards my campsite, and it is nighttime as this comes about. So apparently they've been battling for a while, and this is actually still very close to my home. I'm only 1 hex away from my home at this point. So I am going to actually go ahead and hike my way into the forest in the dark. But since it is dark, I'm going to take a penalty to my survival roll. So I've got a 3 wits. Normally I have a 1 in my survival skill, but I'm going to take a negative to that to become just no survival skill here. So let's go ahead and see what happens. Okay, I made it. So I managed to get away from the battle into the dark woods in the middle of the night. However, since I didn't sleep through the night, even though I rested in the middle of the day, I didn't actually sleep. So my character is now going to be marked with the condition of sleepy. Okay, I looked it up, and as my character is sleepy, I now cannot regain wits until I'm able to sleep, and if I go another day, I will take a point of wits damage. But as I am now in the woods, I might as well try to take advantage of one of the things that my character wanted to do while he was out here, which is to go on a hunt. But before I do that, because we are at the beginning of day 2, I am going to shuffle the deck. So that we get a fresh deck of cards to pull from. And then I need to ask myself the experience questions. Okay, did I participate in the game session? Why, yes, I did. Did you travel through at least one hex on the map that you had not visited before? Yes, I did. That's 2 XP. Did you discover a new adventure site? No. Did you defeat one or more monsters? No. Did you find any treasures? No. Did you build a function in your stronghold? No. Did you activate your pride? No. Did you suffer from your dark secret? No. Did you risk your life for another PC? No. And did you perform an extraordinary action of some kind? I would say no. So I got 2 XP for day 1. Not terrible. And now I can go about my early morning hunting. So I do need to roll on the weather table again. So we're going to do white, green, red. So I think that means we're going to get some weather. Okay, so white was a 6. There is a storm, which means I'm going to get a -2 to my make camp. And the second weather is rain. I rolled a 1 for that. That was the green. Clear skies. I get a +1 to lead the way. And then the last one is red. It's a 4. It's a pleasant day, so it's not hot. It's just really storming and raining heavily, so we can live with that. Now, in order to make my hunting check, I first need to find the game. So for that, I will roll a hunting check with my 3 wits and my 1 survival die. And I got a 6 and another 6. So with 2 6s on this, I actually get to roll twice on the game table to see what I found. So let's roll these 2 dice. So I can find a mouse or a rabbit. And I am going to go with a rabbit. And I can use my bear trap to see if I catch it. Bear trap would normally give me 2 extra dice. Actually, it does give me 2 extra dice, but I have to get 2 successes because there's a +1 to the difficulty. So I'm getting to roll 6 dice, and I need 2 6s on this to capture this rabbit with my trap. And I got them. I got 2 6s. So I have captured in my trap a rabbit, which gives me 2 meat and 1 pelt. One thing that I just realized, at the end of the first day, I did not roll for my food and water consumption. So we're going to do that right now. D6 is the water, D8 is the food. Okay, I got a 2 on the food, which means it went down 1. So both of the food and water consumables are now a D6. However, I did get some fresh game. I got my rabbit, so I will be able to eat the rabbit today instead of rolling my die. So that was the first quarter of the second day. And then the second quarter, I'm going to go ahead and try to press forward deeper into the woods. And I am getting a +1 on lead the way, so I get an extra die on my survival check. And I got 1 success, so I'm good. I entered a new square, so I need to roll, or hex, so I need to draw a card rather to see if there's an encounter. And I need to roll on the table again. And we'll do the white die first. A 16, and we are in the forest. So, nope. No encounter for the second part of the day. I can go another square in the same, or another hex in the same quarter of the day. So I'm going to keep going a little bit further. You know what? Actually, I stand corrected. I cannot go a second hex today because I am in the forest. Not in this quarter of the day anyways. So I've hunted in the morning. I went ahead and moved in the second part of the day. And now I'm going to attempt to make camp. Make camp is a survival check, but it's at -2 this time, which means my skill die is going to be a negative die. That means a 6 will subtract from 6s on my white dice. So let's go ahead and try this. Yeah, I think I'm just going to fail to make camp. Okay, so I'm going to roll on the making camp mishap table. A 45. Ants. Your camp sits in the middle of an ant road. You all suffer 1 point of damage to agility, and no one gets any sleep here. That's a problem, because that means I'm also going to take a point of wits damage, because I'm already sleepy, because I didn't sleep last night either. So that was my third quarter of the day. So the fourth quarter, I'm going to try to make, well, I need to sleep, but I just said I can't sleep. I've already taken the damage for it. Well, let's go ahead and check my food. Food, I'm going to use the rabbit, so I don't have to roll for that. I'll check my water supply. It's good. I guess I'm going to keep trying to move forward, and we're going to do this. No, I'm going to try to, I'm just going to rest, I suppose. So I can rest, I just can't sleep. So when I rest for the last quarter, I will get my agility point back, but I can't heal my wits because I have the condition of sleepiness. And that is the end of day 2. All right, so looks like Alexander is ready for day 3. Just a little bit of a recap on what's happened so far. He left his home village of Rostov 2 days ago, and since that time he managed to catch a rabbit, but everything else has gone rather poorly. He hasn't slept in over a day at this point. The end of the first day, while trying to sleep, he was interrupted by the sounds of a battle between orcs and dwarves coming towards his location. So he headed north to get away from that and not be killed within the battle. But now he is definitely hurting. He's down to 2 left in his wits. He's taken a point of wits damage. He can't heal wits anymore because he is sleepy. So I think what he is going to try to do is make his way back towards his village, and hopefully it hasn't been destroyed by the battle that was headed that direction. So I have printed out some copies from the Book of Beasts from my PDF because it seems like that is going to be a little bit easier than flipping back and forth in the book. So I shuffled the playing cards for the beginning of day 3. I need to answer the XP questions, which I know I got 2 of them, so that gives me 4 XP total. I need to roll for weather, which I've got right here. And we will do white, red, green. So white was a 6. We've got a storm. So we're going to have a -2 for make camp again. And then we've got a red 5, a drizzle for rainfall. That's a -1 to lead the way. And then a 1 for temperature. It's hot, so I'm going to have to make an endurance roll every quarter of the day to not get thirsty. So that means I am ready for the next part, which is going to be drawing to see if there is an encounter. So I'm going to hike back. I can only go 1 because it is not clear because I'm in the woods. I'm going to get 2 attribute dice. Normally I would get 1 survival die, but I'm taking a -1 penalty on that for lead the way, so I'm just getting 2 dice, so I'm probably going to fail here. And I did. I'm going to go ahead and push the roll. And still failed on the push, which means I am going to need to roll for a mishap on lead the way. So we'll do the white die as first. 53 is probably not great. A wasp's nest. You step right into a nest of wasps. An angry swarm attack the entire group. Each adventurer must make a move roll or suffer an attack with 4 base dice causing damage to agility. Well, I'm actually going to be pretty well equipped here. So 4 agility dice plus 1 move die. And despite all of that, I did not get a single success, so I'm going to push the roll. I got a success, but I am going to take a point of agility damage because I got a 1 there, which will give me a willpower. But at least I'm not taking damage now. All right, so that was 1/4 of the day. I did enter a new hex, so I need to draw a card for an encounter. Got a face card, so I'm going to need to draw a card for the general encounters. Let's see if I can get that in camera here. There we go. All right, so we got an 8 of clubs. Clubs are usually a bad sign. Uncanny terrain. Crater an odd tree, sandy patch in a forest. Interesting. Well, that's not going to hurt us too awful bad, but let's see what it is. Let's roll twice, or draw twice on the theme oracle to see what that is. 8 of spades and a jack of spades. So imprisonment and impulsiveness. Okay, so what that tells me is that perhaps there was a hole. Maybe it was natural, maybe it was a trap at one point in time that it's been long forgotten. That's the imprisonment part. And then the impulsiveness, I think there is somebody trapped in the hole that was not looking where they were going. They were being a bit impulsive in their traveling. So I'm going to say that the odds are even that this is going to be somebody that might be helpful. So I am going to draw neutral. Okay, so let's see what they might be. Let's go ahead and use the Legends and Adventures book from the box set. And let's roll D66 to see what kind of individual is in the hole. A 66, it's an elf. That is interesting. So I'm going to introduce myself to this elf that's stuck in a hole. And let's see if we can get a name for them. All right, here's where my names are. Names are in the Book of Beasts solo section. So I've got an elf. We'll say evens, it's a he, and odds, it's a she. Even, so it's a male elf. And his name is Timu. Interesting. So I am going to attempt to help Timu out of his predicament. And I'm going to do that. I am still in the forest, so I am going to break off a limb and try to use my might to help pull him out of the hole. Okay, so I got a success there, so I'm good. So with the success, I pulled Timu out of the hole, and I think that it's probably likely that he's going to be appreciative, but maybe not. So I'm going to draw 2 cards and take the one that's better for me to represent that it was likely that he is thankful. Okay, an Ace of Hearts. That is an exceptional yes. He is extremely thankful that I helped him out. So with that result, I am going to say Timu, the elf, is going to be my next companion. I'm not going to go ahead and create him yet. We'll say that he's pretty hurt and tired and hungry right now, as I am also tired. And so he's not going to be able to be very effective yet, but maybe whenever I get back to my hometown, if it's still there after the battle, Timu can rest up and potentially be able to heal up and be beneficial to me. So I'm going to now move again, which means I need to make another roll for survival, for leading the way. That is wits, and my wits is normally 3, but it's down to 2 because I've taken some damage. And I'm also -1 for leading the way because I have some bad weather conditions. So I'm just getting 2 dice. And I'll go ahead and push the roll. Still nothing. So I'm going to have to roll again on the leading the way hazard. I did also forget to roll an endurance check to see if I become thirsty because it's hot outside, but let's do this first. White die goes first, 22. Lost. You realize you've walked in a circle. You are lost and won't make any progress on the map during this quarter day. Your Pathfinder must also roll survival successfully to find her way out of the hexagon. 1 roll could be made per quarter day. Well, that's no good. Okay, so I guess I'm still over here then. I didn't quite make it. So let's go ahead and roll our endurance check for the first quarter and then also the second quarter. So my endurance is going to be based on my strength, so that's 5 dice there and 1 skill die. And I got a success, so I'm good on the first quarter for getting thirsty, and for the second quarter, oh yeah, I got a couple successes, we're good. But that's the first 2 quarters. Let's see if I am capable of finding my way out since I'm lost. Again, going to be rolling only 2 dice. Hey, and I got 2 6s on that. All right, so I am going to make my way out in the third quarter, and that's good because I really need to be able to sleep. So for the fourth quarter, I'm going to try to sleep without making camp because it took me longer to get out of the woods than I thought. Normally, because I've been in this space before, I wouldn't have to roll there, but I think because I was lost, I should have to, which is why I did that. I also do need to roll my endurance to see if I get thirsty. And I don't. I got a 6 on that one, so we're good. So I am going to make my survival roll to see if I can sleep. And I got 2 5s. I'm going to push it. Hey, I got a 6 and a 5. Good deal. So I can now remove the sleepiness, but I also need to draw a card for potential encounter. That's a 10 of clubs. Okay, so I actually am not moving into a new hex, and I'm not lost at this point in time. So my hike for the first quarter of the day will take me half to get to my village. And at that point, I am going to see if there was any negative consequences for the battle that was very close to my village. And for that, I'm going to use one of the oracles. Let's go ahead and use the yes-no oracle. And I don't know which way the battle was going to end up going. It was just to the east of the village. So we'll see. We'll just go neutral. We'll just flip a card and see what happens. Black, not good. So yeah, I'd say that it is not good. Higher numbers are more definitive, so this is almost as high in the numbers as you can go. So we will say that the battle did arrive at the gates of my town, and I guess let's do 2 theme cards from the theme oracle and find out what that means. 3 of clubs is probably not good. 6 of clubs, probably not good. So 3 of clubs is growth, and 6 of clubs is victory. But whose victory? So we'll say that it is, did the dwarves win? If they didn't, then the orcs would have. 7, red suit. It's a yes, and the definitive number, the higher the number, the more definitive. So the dwarves won the battle, but it did affect my village. So the way I'm going to interpret that is that the dwarves beat back the orcs, but now they've kind of invaded my small village, and they are held up there and causing problems for my very small community to support them. And they expect to be rewarded for their efforts. And I'm going to take the growth as the growth of their belts as they eat all of my friends and family out of house and home. All right, since I have made it back to my village, and I did find Timu while I was out, he was very grateful for me helping him, I'm going to go ahead and generate Timu as a companion. I know that he is an elf, but let's find out what his motivations are. A king of spades. Friendship. His motivation is friendship. So, that makes sense. Timu is perhaps on his own, and he's needing a companion to help him travel the world. And so his motivation, being friendship, speaks to why he might have joined me. And we are going to pick his profession. In the solo rules from the Book of Beasts, it suggests either a hunter, minstrel, peddler, or rogue. And we're going to pick rogue, because I think that is how he fell into the trap. Perhaps he was a little bit tempted and was focused on the prize and not the danger. So then we're going to flip a card for his talent. 9. His talent is quartermaster. All right. Let's see where Timu is from. He got a 5 on the elf chart. The Dwellings of Far Vivend. And let's roll to see what his childhood entailed. A 3, a child of the forest. Ever since he was a child, he's been drawn to the fruits of the forest, the flowers, herbs, and lakes. He's learned everything that he could from the clan's herbalist, the scent of every flower, and which plants nurtured life or ended it. So that is going to determine his statistics. So he's going to have a 3 in strength, a 4 in agility, 4 in wits, and a 4 in empathy. He's also going to get a lore of 2, a scout, Scouting of 1, and survival of 3. Well, that'll be handy. And then we'll roll for his profession talent, as he is a rogue. He's the Path of the Killer. I don't know that I necessarily like being with someone of the Path of the Killer. And then I get to roll twice on the formative events table because that is the rule with the Book of Beasts. So a 4, joined a thieves guild. You sought out an association of thieves and became part of the community. Together you planned heists and carried out dangerous missions. He gets leather armor and a dagger. He also gets Sixth Sense as a talent and adds 1 to scouting and 1 to insight. So then for his second formative event, I got a 6. Band of robbers. He disappeared into the woods and joined a band of robbers that lived off peddlers and caravans who stumbled into their path. Life in the forest was carefree and good as long as it lasted, but in the end, the robbers were ousted from the woods. This actually makes sense, too, because he was at the edge of the woods when I found him in the hole. So that's going to give him 1 in melee and an extra point in survival, which would actually give him a 4 in survival. I don't think that we can go that high. So we're going to take the extra point in survival, and we're going to put it into move. Actually, we're going to put it into manipulation because he's kind of shifty. Okay, and he also got the lightning fast talent. And we know how we met because we just played it out. And that's that. So I now have my faithful companion Timu, the elf. And we have finished day 4. Whenever you go to town, you no longer play out the days in quarters. You actually just play out as is appropriate for the scene. So at this point, I will go ahead and shuffle the deck to signify the end of day 4. And even though you should do it at the beginning of the day, I'm going to do the experience at the end instead of the beginning so that I don't forget next time. I'm going to gain 1 for just participating in the session, and I'm going to gain another 1 for putting myself at risk to save another PC, in this case an NPC actually. But I didn't know that it was going to end well for me by helping Timu out of the hole, but Alexander being very young and sure of himself, it was what he did, and it worked out for the best. Okay, so we are ready for day 5, which will be the final day of my 5 days in the Forbidden Lands week of adventure here. So I've already done my XP from the last session. I did give Timu 1 XP for participating. I've already reshuffled the deck. Now I need to roll for weather because I do think I'm going to set out again from town. I've healed up. I want to get out of town because the dwarves that have taken up residence there, I just see that there's going to be trouble with them and Timu, so this is going to keep me on the move. I'm going to do white, green, red for the weather rolls. So we've got a 2, 2, and 3. And so I'm going to get a +1 for make camp, a none for lead the way, and none for the heat. So I'm good on those fronts. This is actually going to be a very good day, it looks like. So first things first, I need to roll. Oh, and I did heal up because I was in town. I took a day in town, or 3/4 of a day I took in town. I got to go home and rest. So I am rested up. I've got going to lead the way with Alexander, and then that is going to be a survival roll, which is 1 skill die and 3 attribute die for his wits. And I got a success. I actually got 2 successes. So I'm good on the lead the way. This is a new hex. So in this new hex, I am going to draw a card. I got a face card, so that means a general encounter, which I was doing this wrong earlier. It's actually going to be page 170 that I'm going to draw from next on the Book of Beasts. And the general encounter card, Queen of Spades, which is going to be Rust Brothers from page 40 of the Game Master's Guide. Okay, this is going to be probably a battle because of the combination of my dark secret, which was that I killed a Rust Brother, and my pride, which was I never back down from a fight. So I don't see how my character can talk his way out of doing this one. So the Rust Brothers I am a little bit familiar with because I looked up some information on them after I chose that as my dark secret. I'm going to say there's 1 to 3 Rust Brothers. Whoops. So that's 1 Rust Brother, so that's good. Let's say he's an Iron Guard. Let's just roll for it. 1 to 2, he's a Rust Brother. 3 to 4, he's an Iron Guard. 5 to 6, he's a Hymn Sister. Okay, 4, so it is an Iron Guard. Okay, so my thought is, because the Iron Guards are kind of the military and enforcement wing of the Rust Brothers, I think he's come here. He has discovered that someone that murdered a Rust Brother is in this village. So I was leaving town at the same time he was arriving there to try to apprehend me. And perhaps he even knows who I am. And I think whenever I see him on the road, our eyes lock, and I immediately draw my broadsword, and Timu, my loyal elf friend, and Ekaterina, my dog, are going to assist in this fight. So what's going to happen now, I need to go ahead and determine initiative. Okay, so first things first, we're going to say that this Rust Brother, I see him as he is coming kind of up over a hill and I'm coming around a corner, and so we are at short range, about 25 meters away when we lock eyes. And before the encounter starts, I draw my weapon and he draws his in response. And then that will cue us to pull initiative cards. So I got a 10 and he got a 5. So So he's going to be going first. I do have a bit of an advantage because my NPCs are going to go with me. In the suggested rules for solo play, it says that you should probably combine your initiative actions as much as possible and use the NPCs as helpers rather than doing their own actions. So Timu and Ekaterina, my dog, are both going to just assist. The dog's going to nip it at this Russ Brothers legs and try to distract him, and Timu is going to try to feint in and make him think that he is going to take a shot at him to open him up for my attack. But first things first, this Russ Brother Iron Guard is going to have his 2 fast actions, which he's going to use to move from short into near and then into arm's length. The distances in Forbidden Lands are very abstracted, which is okay. It actually works out very well for solo play. So the Russ Brother Iron Guard has a strength of 5, so that's 5 dice. He's got a melee skill of 4, so that's 4 red dice. And then he has a bonus of 2 from his weapon, which are 2 green dice. So he's going to have 11 dice. And that sword of his will do strength damage in the amount of 2 plus 1 for each additional 6 that he rolls. So here's for hoping that he rolls no 6s. But I did not get that lucky. So he got 2 6s. So that would be 3 points of strength damage. But I do have some armor. I've got some leather armor, so hopefully I can block at least one of that. I did not. I did forget I can parry, so I am going to do that. So he got 2 successes. I'm going to use one of my fast actions, and he has no fast actions left. He's used all of his. So I've got a 5 strength. I've got a 3 melee. And I've got 2 for my broadsword, which is a parrying weapon. And I get a bonus because I have sword fighter as a talent. So I can use this parry to cancel out his successes. And I got 2 successes there. So actually I got 3. So I have actually completely parried his attack with my own parry. He cannot parry mine because he's used his 2 actions to get into melee with me. So now it is on to my turn. I'm going to roll 5 strength dice. And then I'm going to roll 3 melee dice. An extra 2 dice for my sword, an extra 2 dice for my 2 helpers. Actually, sorry. 3 dice for my melee, 2 dice for my 2 helpers, 2 dice over here for my sword, 1 more skill die for my talent. That gives me a +1 with any swords. So here we go. Okay. I got 1 hit, but I really feel like I need to make the most of this. Remembering I can reroll 1s if they're red, because those are skill dice. I would take at minimum 2 points of damage to my strength because I'd overexert myself. But I'm going to go with it because I think I need to do as much damage as possible to this guy. Especially because he's wearing chainmail armor, so he's going to block some. Ugh. But I got no more successes, but I didn't take any more extra damage either. So I am going to inflict 2 damage on him, unless his chainmail blocks it, which it does not. Also, his chainmail is going to take a point of damage because he got a 1 on one of them. So he's only got 5 chainmail now. And then I still have a second fast action. I use one of my fast actions to parry. I think I'm going to move back out of arm's length. I'm going to, actually, no. I'm actually going to try to disarm him. So I did take 2 points of strength damage from my pushed roll. That probably wasn't the best decision. So I am down to 3 strength dice, 3 melee dice, 2 gear dice, and 1 for my talent. And I'm going to try to disarm him, and I need to get 1 success. Okay, so I got 3 successes, actually. That would have been nice for the attack roll. So I have actually disarmed him. And my elf and my dog still have their fast actions. So I think that my elf is going to use a fast action to ready that guy's longsword. He's going to pick it up. And so now that guy, the Iron Guard, is lacking his longsword. So he is going to try to bludgeon me on his next turn with his shield. So he has got 3 strength left because I did 2 damage to him already. And he's got 4 melee dice. And he is kind of bashing me with his shield. In my quick perusal, I don't see any statistics for attacking with a shield, so I'm not going to give him a gear bonus to hit. It's not really designed for that. But I am going to let him use his strength and his melee attack, and it will be a base 1 damage. And he gets 3 hits. I am going to attempt to dodge. So that would be 4 dice plus 1 for my move, but then it would be minus 2. I don't think I like that. Let's look here. No, I think I'm going to parry it instead. So we're going to go 3 strength, 3 melee, 2 item. He got 3 successes, and I got 1 success. So that'll be 2 successes for him, which would be 3 damage, which would be enough to knock me unconscious. I do have my leather armor. Let's see what happens. Okay, I blocked 1 of them, so 3 damage becomes 2 damage, which means I still have 1 strength point left. Okay, this is getting pretty hairy. So he's bludgeoned me with his shield, and I'm almost knocked out. Oh, I'm sorry. He only did 2 damage, which went to 1 damage because of the shield. No, that's right. No, I'm wrong. He rolled 3 successes. I blocked one of them. That's 2 successes, so it goes from 1 to 2. And then I blocked, yeah. So I believe that's right. If I'm wrong, tell me about it in the comments. So I think I'm down to 1. So with his fast action, because he moved in for one of his fast actions, so then he's got a remaining fast action, he is going to kind of step back. I'm going to step in with my 1 remaining strength die, my 3, 4 skill dice, 3 dice, plus 1 for my talent, plus 2 for my 2 helpers with my 2 friends, and 2 for my item. And we're going to go again. And we got 1 6. I don't think that's going to be enough. I could knock myself out, or I would definitely knock myself out. But perhaps it will be enough to put him down as well. We'll see. This is kind of all on the line here. Going to push this roll. I forgot to give myself 2 willpower earlier when I took that damage for pushing. All right. And once again, I did not get any additional 6s, and I damaged my sword a little bit. So I would do 2 points of damage. However, he has 5 dice for his chainmail. So he's got 3 hit points left. He blocks 1 with his chainmail. The chainmail gets damaged 1 more. So he has taken me out. So at this point, I would take a critical injury. Strike that. I wouldn't take a critical injury. I knocked myself out. I actually overexerted myself to knock myself out. So the way I would envision this, I am swinging with every bit of might that I have, trying to break through this guy's armor, and I'm failing miserably. He, at this point, has taken 4 of his 5 damage, so he is on his last leg as well. And I kind of swing up against him, and he blocks it with his shield, and I fall to the ground and just assume that I have met my maker. But in the Forbidden Lands solo rules, it actually suggests that maybe that's not the best way to play it. So perhaps Alexander will be captured, or maybe I'll wake up away from this area, and Timu, my new elf friend, and my loyal canine have finished off the Rust Brother, and that could be a future conflict creator for stories, and that I always owe my my loyalty to them because they've saved my life. But at any rate, that is going to be the end of my story here, as that seems like a fitting way to end, even though that's only 1/4 of the way into my 5th day. So that was 5 days in the Forbidden Lands. Okay, so that was my playthrough of Forbidden Lands. Gives you a taste of what to expect from the game and the system, especially using the Forbidden Lands Book of Beasts, which has built-in solo rules. Really everything that I did this week you could do with just these two products. The core box for Forbidden Lands is probably the best starter product that you'll find in RPGs. All of those faux leather books that match these, the Game Master's Guide and the Player's Guide, those come in the box set for $50. And then you also get a gorgeous map and stickers to go on the map, and you get the legend generator booklet. So great value. So as far as the system goes, for solo play, I think it is really, really good. The procedural nature of most of the tasks make it play in a way that is very conducive to soloing. One of the things that did surprise me is that in a week's worth of sessions, I did 1 day session each day of the week this week, and I only had one combat encounter. I guess I could have joined in the fray of the battle between the orcs and the dwarves, but that didn't seem wise. So I didn't think that I would enjoy hunting and hiking and leading the way and making camp as much as I did. There's a lot of interesting things that can happen with the encounter cards and with the mishaps whenever you make a mistake, and meeting characters, and I just barely even touched the surface in this playthrough. So if I were to be asked if I give Forbidden Lands my solo seal of approval, I would give it a big thumbs up. Hopefully you enjoyed the content. I would love to hear your thoughts on Forbidden Lands, and if you've made it this long into the video, thank you. I know this is a long video. And looking forward to talking to you guys about some Forbidden Lands in the comments. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.